Good afternoon and Selamat Hari Raya, Encik Meor. Hope everything is going great.
Yes, Selamat Hari Raya, Bakri. Good afternoon.
Okay, so thank you for joining us for the very first episode of BPAM's Minum Petang series, a short and casual video series where we take some time in the afternoon to talk about current and emerging topics in the Malaysian bond and sukuk market. For today's episode, we will be diving into the topic tokenization of bonds and sukuk in Malaysia. Let us explore what it means, how it works, and why it matters for our market. So, to start, Encik Meor, what is tokenization and how does it apply to bonds and sukuk?
Okay, tokenization by definition is a process of converting real world assets, in this case bonds and sukuk, into digital tokens through blockchain. So each token represents a share of the underlying real asset, enabling easier trading, tracking, and management of these instruments on the digital platform.
Okay. I see. And how does fractional ownership through tokenization increase liquidity in the bond market, Encik Meor?
Okay. So once a product has been tokenized, right, what tokenization allows one to do is actually to divide it into very small bite-sized units. Okay. Now, they call this fractionalization, right? So when it is fractionalized, it opens the market to a much more diverse investor base. Previously, it could have been just institutions, but now retail investors can participate, and it will also help increase trading activities, and also it helps improve secondary market liquidity.
And in what ways does tokenization help retail investors access traditionally exclusive markets?
Okay, again, I think as an extension of the previous answer, it actually lowers the minimum investment amount. The investment amount now is smaller. Let's say because tokenization actually removes the issue of size, right? So it actually sort of throw away all the barriers to entry, enabling anybody from any retail investor to come and participate in the market where once they are not able to, so they now can. So from that perspective, when you look at the market players, it will now grow substantially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say the marketplace grows substantially, so there's global accessibility. So how could global accessibility to tokenized bonds and sukuk change the investor landscape?
Okay. When traditional bonds are traded in Malaysia, generally the assumption is that it's a 9 to 5 trading period, right? Generally speaking, right? But once it's tokenized, it's on a digital platform. The world is your market. It's no longer limited to the jurisdiction of Malaysian players in Malaysia. Someone could be trading it from the other side of the world, anywhere part of the world, at any time of the day, and this in itself will actually create a more diverse and inclusive participation across regions. So those from the other side of the world want to have some exposure to Malaysian credit, they can, but they don't have to subscribe to an amount that may be too much for them.
Yes.
Right.
Transparency and reliability are crucial in the bond and sukuk market. How can blockchain technology contribute to enhancing transparency and building trust in these markets?
Okay. So one of the so-called underlying basis of blockchain is this concept of a secure and immutable ledger, right? So which means that once this ledger has been created, the likelihood to change, to hack becomes very, very difficult, right? So it is therefore makes it the whole transaction very easy to track, and the things that you can possibly track, which is actually important for the market, is, for example, ownership. When transaction has been made, at what price. So this transparency factor actually reduces the risk of fraud. and all else being equal, effectively push investors' confidence.
So next is cost. Reducing cost is something issuers always think about. How does tokenization help reduce costs in bond issuance and trading? Meor.
Okay. Traditional way of trading bonds has a number of intermediaries involved. So you have the clearinghouse, you have the brokers, you have custodians, so on and so forth. So if you have more intermediaries, the likelihood that the cost will also be relatively high. So I use the word relative because it's not just simple like 10 cents to a dollar. No, you have to look in terms of the number of intermediaries, because everybody must get their compensation for being parcel of that transaction. Now, once you have it tokenized, you effectively can eliminate or reduce some of these intermediaries in the whole transaction. By virtue of that elimination, cost will naturally reduce per transaction. So this is the advantage of having it tokenized, because it can and should reduce costs.
Yeah, understood. Okay, so tokenized assets are generally they can be settled quite fast. So why is faster settlement important for investors and issuers alike?
Okay, so if you can, the best is of course instantaneous completion of settlement, right? Because people say, I want to buy, someone wants to sell, immediately they get. But of course, sometimes this is the ideal situation. In the current practical situation, right, traditional way of transaction, there is some lag time for everything to square out, right? So having it on a blockchain actually speeds up this process. The faster you can get the settlement to be done, it actually reduces risk. So efficiency with regards to market responsiveness, delays and so on and so forth, again increases the so-called investors' confidence, and also reduces the risk that they may have while waiting for their transaction to be completed.
Okay. And when it comes to tokenized bonds, smart contracts play a big role. So what role do smart contracts play in ensuring the integrity and efficiency of transactions?
Okay. This thing about smart contracts is that smart contracts is a very important component, because it effectively takes out the so-called support processes that generally is taken on by either an entity which has human workers, right? Case in point, like coupon payment dates, coupon payments, reporting of annual statements, so on and so forth. So once you have a smart contract being part of the whole transaction, all of this becomes automated. Dates to which coupons are supposed to be paid, announcements are supposed to be made, are all stated in this contract. So if you do not fulfill any of these requirements, the system itself will immediately prod. Why? Please come up, please generate, please make payment. Okay? So you don't have this any potential of human errors.
Okay.
So that's the advantage of having a smart contract.
Okay. And so thank you, Meor. So I have one final question, Meor. As we wrap up, do you think tokenization of bonds and Sukuk in Malaysia has the potential to reshape our market in the future, even though we are still in the early stages? Meor?
Okay. As highlighted earlier, when it is a tokenized asset, what happens is you have sort of eliminate the issue of size. So that's the first one. You have also introduced maximum efficiency based on the technology that you adopt, right? You are now able to reduce as much as possible any settlement risk or any other risk that used to be present, right? Although I have to qualify that credit risk remains. There is still credit risk. That one you can't run away, right? But at least transaction risk is reduced. Okay, now having all this into the whole mix, right? As a nation, there are a number of important implications that we need to consider. The first one is that size does not matter. In the current situation, size matters, i.e., you are either a big blue chip company which has to issue hundreds of millions of ringgit worth of bonds, you tap the market. Now, you can be a small SME which requires a loan that can be funded by a bond or a sukuk that is not in the multi-million dollar range, but could be in the 1,000 range. Right? Okay. It's possible. You can still issue. And because it is on a platform, the outreach to potential investors is there. And this is actually very important. And again, the outreach is not only for Malaysians, but as I said earlier, the global market is your playing field. So the advantage for a lot of borrowers and investors now becomes huge. Much bigger number of players the number of stakeholders in the bond market or in the sukuk market can grow substantially. So this is the advantage of having it tokenized. But however, again, I have to put a note of warning. It doesn't mean that credit risk is eliminated. There is credit risk. Business can fail. So if such a technology, because this technology doesn't eliminate those risks. This technology only makes it easier for you to assess, for you to buy, for you to identify potential investments that you like to take. But it doesn't eliminate those risks. So as investor, you need to take that into consideration as well.
Okay, Cik Meor, thank you so much for taking the time for today's first episode of BPAM's Minum Petang series, and we hope to see you again in our next episode.
Thank you so much, Bakri.
Thank you, Cik Meor.
All right.